Have you ever wanted to fire your doctor? Chances are if you haven't, you probably will at some point. But I have a confession. I've been fired. It's true, and I'm not proud of it. In fact, most doctors have been fired at some point, and it's usually for a good reason. In my case, I remember I had a teenager that came in and was freaking out about getting in a shot. They were hollering and carrying on as my nurse was trying to give it. This went on for a while and started to become a distraction to the whole clinic, so I felt I had to step in. I went in there a little bit stern and told the patient what they needed to do, but my approach wasn't received very well and certainly didn't solve the problem. Instead of trying to understand what the real problem was, I focused on how disruptive the patient was being. It wasn't the right way to handle it, and because of that, I got fired. And frankly, I deserved it because I ruined that doctor-patient relationship that is so important to getting good care. So let's talk about 5 reasons that you may need to fire your doctor today. So number 1, my biggest problem I think with the patient I just told you about is that I didn't really take the time to listen to what was going on. She likely had some underlying anxiety and prior trauma that was making her act this way. And because I didn't listen, it was even more traumatic. My problem was probably the same problem that many of you have had with your doctors, and that is they just don't listen to you. Jumping to conclusions, not listening to the whole problem before we give an answer, I think is a basic human nature and happens with all of us at one time or another, and doctors are definitely not immune to this. But it's not a good thing for you as a patient if this is a constant issue. Now, there has to be some give and take on both sides when it comes to this. Having a doctor be a good listener doesn't mean that they just sit there listening to everything you say. For example, I had a patient come in once complaining of feeling fatigued. They were really concerned that it was somehow their testosterone or thyroid levels that were affecting it and wanted to talk about that. But they mentioned a lot of their fatigue was actually shortness of breath when they were walking or doing any exertional activities. We figured out that the problem was actually heart-related and had nothing to do with what the patient wanted to talk about. So being a good listener actually requires effort on both sides. You need to find a doctor who's willing to listen to what you say, but also is willing to challenge your assumptions, ask more questions, and work together to find the answer. But if every time you go to your doctor, they have their nose stuffed in their computer, or you feel like you're the adult on Charlie Brown,
Oh, good grief.
and they just won't listen, it's definitely time to get a new doctor. The second reason that you should fire your doctor may have less to do with the doctor themselves, but can be just as frustrating and harmful to your health. Have you ever had a doctor that you just couldn't get a hold of? Their phone system doesn't work, or the front receptionist or nurse will just never call you back, or are outright rude. If the office staff is unprofessional, or whatever system they use is just too burdensome that you can't even get through to anybody, then it's probably time to find a new doctor. For most doctors' offices, unless you're actually in the room with a doctor, the only interaction you have with the healthcare system is with the staff. All these people play a huge role in making sure you receive appropriate care, but can also be a big obstacle. Just like every other industry, COVID has had a huge impact on staffing. Everybody's overworked and understaffed, and it can be reflected in how they interact with you. So a little bit of patience may be necessary, but if you're constantly struggling to get your needs met because the staff are not able to keep up, find it impossible to communicate with their office, or they're just frankly acting unprofessional, let your doctor know of your frustrations and see if there's any solutions. But if they continue to struggle to meet your needs, it may be time to find a new office. Reason number 3 is one of the most common reasons I see new patients in my clinic. Maybe you have a great doctor that has gotten to know you well, but now every time that you try to get in to be seen with them, you never actually see him. The only person that can ever see is an assistant that doesn't know you well, or even more often, you can't get in to see them for months. If you need care and you can't actually get in to see the person who's supposed to be caring for you, then maybe it's time to fire that doctor. Reason number 4 to fire your doctor happens when they let their ego get in the way of caring for you. The thing that drives me most crazy, and should you too, is when they expect you to do what they say just because they say so. In my opinion, the most important role that a doctor has is that of an educator. So when you see a doctor and all you get from them is take this pill because I say so, that has nothing to help you. Now, it's not to say that the recommendation they've given isn't right, it might be, but if we don't take the time to educate you about why we're recommending what we are and what we are treating you for, we're really wasting your time. But if I just take a couple extra minutes to walk you through why we're doing what we're doing and help you understand what the disease is we're treating, you're gonna feel more heard, you're more likely to follow recommendations, and it creates an environment where we understand each other better. So do yourself a favor. If your doctor is more of a dictator than an educator, give them the boot and find somebody different. To understand the last reason that you should fire your doctor, we need to remember the whole reason that you were going to them in the first place. To find answers to whatever health issue that you're dealing with. Ultimately, our purpose as a doctor, the reason for the visit, all of it centers around you, the patient. Our goal should be to get you the care you need. So, the 5th reason you should fire your doctor is if that doctor isn't able to fix your problem. As much as we try to make people think so, we're not infallible as doctors. We don't know everything. There's a lot of conditions that I just don't have experience with, and neither does your doctor. So sometimes, no matter how much you actually may like them, if you're not able to find the answer, it may be time to get a different doctor, or at least go for a second opinion. I've had patients that before, no matter what we did, We just weren't able to figure out the problem despite multiple attempts or referrals. Frankly, at that point, I've actually recommended to them that they may need to get a different set of eyes on the problem because I just couldn't figure out what the answer was. I get that you may feel a sense of loyalty to your doctor, but you need to put your health first. If you really like your doctor, then maybe you don't need to fire them, but don't feel bad if you need to see somebody else and get a different opinion. Sometimes having somebody take a fresh look could be the solution that you need. So remember, you're the patient, you're the customer. You're in the driver's seat and you need to advocate for your own best interest. Now, that doesn't mean you should approach your visits with the same pride and stubbornness that you want to fire your doctor for. But if you approach your own visits with humility, a willingness to listen, and patience, but they still aren't meeting your needs, it's time to fire that doctor and get in with somebody that is going to give you the care that you need. Hopefully, after watching this video, you're not ready to fire us. If not, it would be a great time to subscribe, hit that like button, and share this video with your friends. And if you enjoyed this video, you need to watch this one, as it just might be the one that gets you on the path to good health. So I just want to thank you for joining us today and want you to remember, you take care of your body because it's the only one you have.